Have you ever received an invitation to do something, and you really did not read the invitation very closely, or at least you didn't pay close attention to what the invitation was asking of you, but you said yes anyhow? You really did not know what you were signing up for, and later you ask yourself, what did I get myself into? Or perhaps you said yes and did not know what you were saying yes to. Or perhaps you agreed to do a task or job that sounded easy. And then you began to work on the task or doing the work. And later you learned that the job is not as easy as it looked or sounded or was described. Or perhaps you made a commitment to doing something, and you've been doing the task so long that you have forgotten why you're doing what you do. If your answer is yes to one or all of these questions, then you just might be a parent, married, single, a priest or religious. You have a job, you're part of some organization, you are crazy, or you just might be a disciple of the Lord. Perhaps you are one of these, all 8 of these, or just a few of these. And I'm sure I could explore all 8 of these topics with you this evening. But for time's sake, I'm just going to explore the idea of what it means to be a disciple. If you want to explore the other 8 of these possibilities, you can do so, and the altar servers will be leading your conversation tonight. So what does it mean to be a disciple? As we read through the Gospels, we hear several invitations to discipleship. And oftentimes, the invitation to discipleship is directed to an individual person. For example, as Jesus was walking along, he called James and John from their boat to come follow him. And they followed him. Or perhaps you may recall the tax collector. Now, depending what gospel you want to choose, it's different people. It's either Levi or Matthew. Yet the Lord called each one of them, and they followed him. Or perhaps you may recall the 12 apostles. Jesus called each one by name, and they followed him. They followed him. Did they know where they were following? Did they know what they were saying yes to when they said yes to following the Lord? Did they understand what they were following? Did they say yes to something that they thought sounded easy? Perhaps they did. And then again, perhaps not. But they chose to follow anyhow. In our scriptures today, there is an invitation to discipleship. And the invitation today is not directed at any specific person, or at least not a specific person is named, as we hear Jesus is traveling in a crowd. Perhaps this evening each one of us is a part of that crowd. And Jesus tells us, in order to be his disciple, we're to carry our cross and follow after him. Jesus, speaking to the crowd, instructing to take up their cross and follow the crowd, to them may have seemed something scandalous. For the crowd to take up the cross, for them the cross was an instrument of torture and death. It probably was just as scandalous for them to take up their cross, as we also hear in the scriptures today, the scandal that we must hate the members of our family in order to be followers of the Lord. Perhaps it might be an okay thing to maybe hate your family if you're in a relationship with a member of your family. You might welcome such an invitation. But let's face it, the word hate makes us feel uncomfortable. This invitation to take up the cross and come after Jesus, I think, is an invitation that we accept, sometimes without paying much attention to what we're saying yes to. It's an invitation, sometimes I think, that sounds simple. Perhaps also we hear this idea to take up our cross so regularly that we can almost forget what we're saying yes to. Regardless of how we perceive the cross today continues to be a place of torture and death. But our faith also turns this torture and death into life. For the cross, for many of us, also brings healing. For it's when we put our own wounds in the wounds of Jesus that we become healed. We come here today in response to the Lord's call to discipleship. As we come here this evening, there are many of us that are carrying crosses with us. Some may be carrying crosses of burden and pain, perhaps from some disease, and others carry a hurt from other hurts in their lives. Perhaps you experience a broken relationship, or perhaps someone else has done something to you that you hurt. Some carry a cross, placing a barrier between you and the Lord. And still others carry a cross of various other kinds. Regardless of the cross we carry with us today, the Lord does not want us to keep it to ourselves, but wants to help us carry our own cross. And we bring them with us. We bring our crosses with us to the Lord this day, with the hope that the Lord will take any cross, any obstacle that keeps us from the Lord will remove that from us. We trust that the Lord can do it. We also trust that the Lord will help us. It's with our trust in the Lord that we respond to the Lord's call to discipleship. It's with this response to the Lord's call to discipleship that the Lord nourishes us with his body and blood.